Alright, so let's dive into Python string methods. And again, if you are a complete beginner, just think of Python string methods as things you can do to strings in Python. And the first method we're going to look at is Python's string method replace, which is this one. And simply how to do this is let's go on to a new line. And let's say string 2 is equal to string dot replace an empty parentheses. And you may be wondering why I have a set of empty parentheses after the replace call, and that's because I'm calling this method, which is a function that is bound to the class string object. But again, if you're a complete beginner, don't worry about all that mumbo jumbo, and just remember that when you want to use a string method, you first add the dot, then the method name followed by a set of parentheses. But since we are using the replace method, these empty parentheses are not going to stay empty. Because, well, let me just go ahead and show you what the replace function does. And if we read it up here, it says returns a string where a specified value was replaced with a specified value. Now, if you're a beginner, that seems kind of complicated, but after a while and after using it a few times, it actually really starts to hit home. So let's go ahead and take our hello world string up here, and let's go down here. Inside the parentheses, we want to say, let's go ahead and grab the H in the hello world. So we want to put in H, go outside of the double quotation marks, add a comma, another set of double quotation marks, and inside of here, let's just go ahead and put in a lowercase h, and then outside of the parentheses, we go on line 30, we simply say print string 2, save that, and let's go ahead and open up the git bash terminal, go into the main.py, press enter, and now you see that the uppercase h was replaced with the lowercase h. Now we can do this with a host of other values, like let's say we wanted to place that lowercase h with, let's say, a pp0, something like that. Let's go ahead and save that again, go over to git bash terminal, let's go and run the code again, and you see the h is replaced with the value that we put over here. So simply put, the replaced method takes the value you want to change, comma, and then the value you want to replace that other value with. This is a pretty simple and pretty useful string method in Python, and later on in the course I will go ahead and explain why we use the dot when referencing these string methods. But for right now, as a beginner, just go ahead and focus on this is how you would call this replace method, and this is what this method does to a specific string. Now let's go ahead and look at the split method, and what does that do? Alright, so now we are looking at the split method, and let's go ahead and get rid of this print statement, and instead of replace, we're going to put in split, and like that. Now the split method and that argument will go ahead and separate whatever string you have with that value that you pass into it. Like for instance, our string hello world up here, it has a white space in it. So let's say we wanted to split those in two instead of just one string. We wanted to split that, and let's say something like this, print string 2, save that, come over here, run the code, and you see we get in these square brackets hello, comma, world. And now these are two separate values instead of one. Now the description of the splits method states that splits the string at a specified separator and returns a list. Now I haven't covered lists yet, but essentially this is what is being returned here. It is a pretty useful Python string method, and I find myself using it all the time. Now the other ones are a little bit more simple, and the split method might be a little bit too advanced for really complete beginners, but it's something you want to hold in the back of your mind and just try to remember that it's something there that you can use. And in the next video, we're going to discuss the lower string method. Alright, so now we are going to discuss the lower string method, and let's go in and get rid of this, and it does exactly what it states, converts a string into lowercase. So let's go ahead and type it out, do the empty parentheses, save it, and let's go back to over here, run the code, and you see in our previous string both the H and the W were capitalized, but now when we run the code down here, we can see that they are both lowercase now. And essentially that is what the lower string method does. It lowers the string if it is uppercase. And now we are going to look at the uppercase in this one. And it does the exact opposite to a string that lower does. So let's go ahead and do that and run it. And you can see it changes all of the lowercase into uppercase. Pretty useful, but something I haven't personally dealt with that much. Now, title, on the other hand, does the same thing as upper, the only difference that it takes the first letter of each word and changes that to uppercase. So for instance, let's go up here and we change these both uppercase letters to lowercase. Save that, come down here and put in title. Well, firstly, let's print out just the string up here, and let's see what that does. First, let's clear the screen. And as you can see, it is the same. Everything is lowercase, everything is lowercase. But now let's change it down here to pass in the string 2. And now we run it, and now you see that both the H and the W are capitalized. And that is what title does. For each word in a string, it capitalizes them. So let's add some more words in here just to demonstrate it more. So let's say, hello world, my name is Christopher. Save that, and now we go back into the code, we run it, and you can see each word in the string is capitalized. So that is very useful. I've used it a few times in my Python programs, and I'm sure you will find many cases to use it yourself. And the next and last one we are going to go over is the count string method. Okay, so the count method returns the number of times a specified value occurs in a string. So let's go ahead and go up here to our example string, and let's replace that with Mississippi. And we come down here, let's change this to count, and let's count the S's in Mississippi, and that should be 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's go into Get Bash Terminal, let's clear the screen, and let's run the code, and it comes out 4. So let's do another example, and let's say we want to count the I's in Mississippi, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. We change this to I, save that, come back over here, run the code, and we get the same result, 4. So again, the count string method returns the number of times a specified value occurs in a string. Now this can be particularly useful if you have a really big string. Like let's say you're working with a program and some data is coming in from some external source, and you wanted to count just how many words come up in that string, well, the count method can do that, and it can do it very, very well. So these are just a few examples of Python string methods. There are a whole host of them, and actually, let's go over here, and I'm going to leave this link to this W3 schools page. And as you can see, these are all the Python string methods, and I will go over more of them in later videos. But as you can see, there is plenty of them to go around. You know, dot join, dot strip. I mean, there are just countless of them, and all of them having their own specific use cases. But again, I'm going to leave this in the link in the description box or in the resources section of this video. And I hope you found this video intuitive, and I will see you in another one.